I will now pass the floor to Kata from Bosnia and Herzegovina. She will a bit develop on the question which was already raised about the economic situations and about the labor standards in the accession countries. Please.
Thank you. I can't talk about Bosnia and Herzegovina without focusing on obstacles and challenges. My country shares the same challenges as other countries in the Western Balkans in terms of undergoing a lengthy and difficult process. I can't talk about Bosnia and Herzegovina. Move. Almost as if I'm at home. I can't talk about Bosnia and Herzegovina without focusing on obstacles and challenges. My country shares the same challenges as other countries in the Western Balkans in terms of undergoing a lengthy and difficult process of economic transition. However, we're also dealing with the consequences of war, a destroyed economic infrastructure and a divided population. The ethno-national division still takes precedence over all other social issues and thus significantly affects the socio-economic situation in the country. We are struggling with widespread poverty, social exclusion, a high level of unemployment, a huge informal economy, endemic corruption, and inefficient institutional implementation and protection mechanisms. EU instruments of enlargement are beneficial or will be beneficial for democracy and the quality of life in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Since 2007, we have received substantial EU financial aid under the Instrument for Pre-Accession Assistance. There have been some improvements, but at an extremely slow pace. From the perspective of the non-government sector in Bosnia and Herzegovina, the main obstacle to implementation and greater impact of these measures is the country's complicated institutional structure, which is neither transparent nor effective, which is expensive and prone to corruption and exclusion of citizens and social partners from decision-making processes. In these conditions, the benefits of EU enlargement instruments are minimised. The current system in Bosnia and Herzegovina is rooted in a constitution based on the Dayton Peace Accord, signed to end a war and respond to the ethno-political demands at that time, but not designed to be the foundation of an effective and sustainable institutional structure that offers the same level of protection and access to rights for all of its citizens. All citizens do not have equal opportunities for participation in all levels of government. The Constitution provides that only members of the three constituent peoples, that is ethnic Bosniaks, Croats and Serbs, can be elected members of the Presidency and the House of Peoples. These provisions were contested by two Bosnians from the Jewish and Roma communities in a case brought before the European Court of Human Rights, which in its judgment in 2009 found violations of three protocols to the European Convention on Human Rights. Even though this was a groundbreaking judgment that allows members of minority groups to run for high public office, it does not remove ethnicity as the criterion for participation in other levels of government. A new constitution, a new institutional system, a new set of democratic principles, these are the elements that a growing number of citizens and civil society organisations from across the country are recognising as fundamental for democratic and economic development in the country. These organisations have formed a coalition last year to raise public awareness about the burden of the existing system on democracy and economic development and to raise a critical mass of support for the reforms required to create a sustainable institutional system, specifically an effective state level with a strong local self-government characterised by active citizen participation in decision-making, a model that would be inclusive and better able to meet the needs of all of its citizens. The movement has also received support from a number of government representatives, particularly from the local government level, who are also excluded from decision-making processes by higher levels of government with regards to issues in their jurisdiction. This process of transition from a wartime constitution to a peacetime constitution should have been concluded before the start of the pre-accession phase. The lesson in the case of Bosnia and Herzegovina, with similarities to Cyprus, is that EU enlargement policies should first and foremost focus on resolving internal divisions and building a solid state foundation, a democratic institutional structure that is able to guarantee equal access to rights for all citizens, a system in which European assistance will then have maximum impact and benefit. The citizens of Bosnia and Herzegovina see their future in the European Union. The European Union still has a pivotal role to play in Bosnia and Herzegovina regarding the constitution, institutional structure and internal divisions by supporting an inclusive consultative process in moving forward on these needed reforms. And as Mr. Dalema said yesterday in the context of future Israeli-Palestinian agreements, that a majority of the people need to support these reforms and not just the government. So the emphasis should be on collective ownership of reforms, on people and not just the government. Thank you.